Good evening and welcome to the COVID-19 update on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. Here are some of the highlights this hour. House of Representatives creases Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 over 22.2 billion naira released its operations account. Abia State Governor tests positive to coronavirus as state records 67 cases in 24 hours. And Tanzania's President John Magufuli declares country coronavirus-free. (12,486) is the total number of COVID-19 infections confirmed in the country, with 3,959 recoveries and 354 deaths recorded, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC). Now, this leaves the number of active cases across the country at 8,173 after testing 78,244 samples nationwide. A breakdown of the regions shows that Lagos State in the southwest remains the epicenter of the epidemic in the country, with a total of 5,767 cases. Next is Kano in the northwest with 999 cases. It has recorded 48 deaths and discharged 450 people. The Federal Capital Territory, FCT, leads in the north central with 952 cases. Its active cases are 664 after discharging 265 patients. Edo leads in the south-south with 401 cases. It has discharged 109, while Borno tops the northeast with 356. And the total confirmed cases in Ebonyi, leading in the southeast, is 103 cases. According to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, 22.2 billion naira has so far been released to the operations account of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, while 164.9 billion naira is to cater for the management of the affairs of returnees from other countries. The Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Olusegun Adekunle, represented the chairman of the Presidential Task Force at a public hearing held by the House of Representatives Committee on Public Funds. The PTF is appearing before the House to account for the funds allocated and donated in the fight against the pandemic. The committee also issues a warning to the Accountant General of the Federation, who failed to honor the invitation of the committee to stop disobeying the summons, or else a warrant of arrest will be issued against him. A fresh invitation has been issued to him to appear on the 15th of June. And in keeping officers of the Nigeria Police abreast of global threats of the pandemic and to improve the force's relations with members of the public, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has launched an operational guideline for officers of the force in enforcing law and order in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking during the launch in Abuja, Mr. Adamu explains that the protocol will guide officers on how to protect themselves and protect Nigerians as the government tries to curb the spread of COVID-19. And topping the list of states in the southeast with 103 confirmed cases reported by the NCDC, Ebonyi State has recorded more recoveries. The State Commissioner for Health, while addressing newsmen at the Virology Center in Alex Ekweme Federal Teaching Hospital in Abakaliki, confirmed that 15 COVID-19 patients have been discharged after a recent test was conducted and they tested negative. Ebonyi has not recorded any COVID-19 death.
We are here to discharge 15 number confirmed cases of COVID-19 who has seroconverted and become negative for COVID-19. And I have to put the records straight that we have recorded in Ebonyi State so far 142 number confirmed cases of COVID-19, and we have discharged from today, adding up to this 15, total number of 41 cases, hale and hearty. And we have not recorded any death in Ebonyi State.
A lot of people don't understand. They say COVID-19 is a scam. It's not a scam, it's a reality. The only thing is that a lot of people, because of their possibly high immunity, are symptomatic. They carry it and go about without knowing what the harm they're doing to the society. It's dangerous, particularly if you have some already existing medical conditions. Like myself, who was already down with malaria and already had complication. It was a very easy walk-in for COVID, and I had it.
Well, it's all about keeping the numbers down as countries reopen gradually. But what do we know now as countries' research and vaccine development progresses? We have pharmacist Ebiere Herbertson, head of pharmacy in Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NIMR, joining us here in Lagos. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Millicent.
I'd like to begin with what we heard from the WHO country representative in Nigeria at the Presidential Task Force briefing, talking about the use of antibiotics. And we know this is a viral infection. How do you impute using antibiotics during the treatment for COVID-19?
Thank you. It has become common practice for prescribers, physicians, to use antibiotics for common cold and other viral infections. And I think the main reason is because for most of the time, where there is a viral infection, there will be a bacteria superinfection. And so I think what the WHO country representative is saying is in line with global practice right now. The whole world is trying to reduce the rate of resistance to antibiotics. And so she's saying, unless you confirm that there is a bacterial infection, do not use antibiotics.
So before we come to some of the new research and treatment strategies across the country and the world, I'd like to ask about WHO itself and its response to the pandemic. How would you assess the agency?
I think WHO is doing what it should do. I think it's doing very well. It's an advisory body, and it's carrying out its advisory role very well, as far as I'm concerned. And I think they've followed up the figures all over the world, and they've given advice where they need to. And like we know, they are not a policing body, so they cannot enforce. They can only give advice, and that's what they've been doing.
So for the first time, Italian scientists are saying they've been able to identify the genetic and molecular basis of susceptibility to infection, as well as the possibility of contracting a more severe form of COVID-19. How close are we, with this new research to finding a vaccine?
I think it's a step in the right direction, because their findings will help in speeding up the development of new antiviral agents, that will act against the COVID virus. Then again, going through their reports, I had the opportunity to quickly browse through it. And the report actually confirmed some knowledge that is already known. For instance, they confirmed that a protein called the ACE2 is a very important binder for the virus. And their study set out to look at individual variability. That's to say, the difference from one person to the other. That was what they set out to do. But as at when this report was made, I think that was barely 24, 48 hours ago, what they succeeded in doing is confirming common genes. That's to say, the genes that are common, that are found in everybody that has tested positive for the virus. And one of these common genes they found is the ACE2. For full is the angiotensin converting enzyme 2. And they are glad they were able to confirm this, because this particular protein or gene, it's already been used in the process of developing new drugs.
Okay, so how much are we doing, especially in Nigeria, with regards to identifying the type of COVID-19 that we have, containing it, and then, treating it?
For now, I think we've had one work on sequencing the virus. I think the virus that was extracted from the index case in Nigeria. So we know that the virus that is circulating in Nigeria is the same virus that is circulating globally. But to continue with more work on genetics and molecular structure, I think it's a very expensive form of research. And Nigerian scientists would need a lot of funding to continue with that kind of research.
One question a lot of people are asking is that with the race, to get a vaccine, how possible is it? Because we have HIV with us, and you've been involved in the treatment of HIV, and yet there isn't a vaccine against it.
Okay, we're looking at two different viruses. With the HIV, it mutates very rapidly. So it's not a stable virus, and that's why it's been very difficult to get a vaccine against HIV. But with COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2, I think there is hope because it's a more stable virus. As we speak, there are more than 70 vaccine candidates in the pipeline at various stages of clinical trials. So I'm very hopeful that there will be a vaccine for SARS-CoV-2.
All right. We'd like to appreciate your time, Pharmacist Ebere Herbertson, Head Pharmacy, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Millicent.
And the Presidential Task Force, in its briefing today, acknowledged the support of donor agencies who have helped the country in the battle against COVID-19. The chairman of the task force, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says the committee is reviewing the COVID-19 pandemic fight, especially after the country recorded 100 days since the first index case.
There are several ongoing infrastructure interventions being made by government, development partners, and the private sector nationwide. The last 100 days has also brought out the best in the spirit of Nigerians. There has been tremendous private sector and corporate mobilization. We remember all Nigerians who have passed away from this disease. We commiserate with their families and friends who have had to deal with the difficulty of losing loved ones at this time. We pray that God will continue to console them and heal our land. At this juncture, the Presidential Task Force appreciates the World Health Organization, the African Disease Control, the West African Health Organization, the United Nations family, the European Union, and a host of other partners for the support we have received so far.
And we have more from the Presidential Task Force briefing on COVID-19 when we return. Welcome back to the program. And the Minister of Health at the Presidential Task Force briefing on COVID-19, Dr. Osage Hanire, has been reporting on the investigations of the unexplained deaths carried out in Kano and neighboring states. He said a total of 979 deaths recorded in Kano were in 8 municipal local government areas at a rate of 43 deaths per day, and investigations suggest that 50 to 60% may have been triggered by underlying illnesses.
This morning, the Federal Ministry of Health received the report of the ministerial task team that went to Kano to support the government there in the COVID-19 response with commodities, ambulances, training, technical and confidence-building measures. The visit turned out to be a game changer and improved the indices for Kano. With regard to the unexplained deaths in Kano, which occurred in April over a 5-week period, the team confirmed that a total of 979 deaths were actually recorded in 8 municipal local government areas in the state, and at a time at a rate of 43 deaths per day, as measured by counting activities at the graveyards. The peak was in the second week of April, and by the end of April, the numbers had started to reduce and had finally now settled at 11 deaths per day, which was about what it was before. The verbal autopsy that we spoke of revealed that about 56% of the deaths had occurred at home, while 38 were in a hospital, and with the circumstantial evidence as all to go by, the investigation suggests that 50 to 60% of the deaths may have been triggered by or due to COVID-19 in the face of pre-existing ailments. A significant part was also triggered by inability to access routine care at the time due to the scare of COVID-19.
And the governor of Abia State has tested positive to COVID-19. The governor was said to have presented himself for the test after 2 of his aides were diagnosed with the virus. Governor Okezie Ikpeazu, whose second COVID-19 test turned positive yesterday, said that his decision to present himself for a second test was to remove all doubt about his status after testing negative initially. He assured the people of Abia State that he remains stable and in high spirits, saying that as your governor, I have a responsibility to do what is right and keep our people fully updated about my health status. He restated his stance that testing positive to the virus is not a death sentence and appealed to the people of the state not to panic, but continue to take issues surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic with seriousness and take all necessary precautions in line with the protocols enunciated by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. And Dr. Samuel Okerinde, a public health physician, joins us right now via Skype from Surulere. Welcome to the program. Let's begin by some of the few comments that have come in from the presidential task force team on COVID-19. First, there was the scare of the virus by healthcare workers in the northern region, and we're told that over 150 contracted the virus, but now the Minister of Health is reassuring that confidence has been restored after training frontline health workers. How important is this IPC training, and this is having this training across the country as we combat COVID-19?
Thank you very much, Millicent. The importance of training, IPC training, cannot be overemphasized. The fact that we have health workers doesn't necessarily mean that they are trained in the area of infection prevention and control, particularly because a lot of health workers may not be infectious and disease specialists. And so those who are specialists in taking care of cases like Lassa fever are the ones that have been trained. A lot of health workers have not been trained. But because of, and that's why we have some of the cases we have been people coming down with those COVID-19 positive. But due to the training and also retraining, they are able to know what to do, particularly in preventing themselves and other people, including patients, from coming down with COVID-19. So yes, the IPC training is very, very important and very highly welcome.
Do you expect that we will be able to sustain our domestic capacities? And this is so that the next pandemic doesn't catch us unawares.
That is huge. I'm not sure currently we done much in that line, but this has opened our eyes to the need. If we do a need assessment, we know that there is so much that needs to be done. This COVID-19, of course, has showed that if care is not taken, even currently, we may have the overwhelming of the health system and health facility. So, but what we've done so far, I won't say it's bad. We've done enough, but there's so much that can be done. But in preparation for the next epidemic, I think there's so much lesson that can be taken from this. One of that lesson, critical lesson, is if you don't invest in your health infrastructure, if you don't invest in also in training of your health workers, whatever comes, you are very sure that thing will overtake your health system. So yes, there's so much lesson that's been taken, and I think we can pick up lessons from this to prevent future occurrence of any other pandemic or epidemic.
So, generally, looking at from your vantage point, how have our non-pharmaceutical interventions been working? Now, the IGP says there's a new guideline regulating police officers and the relationship with citizens. How do you think compliance levels would look like in the next few days?
Okay, non-pharmaceutical prevention or treatment is very, very key, particularly in preventing the spread of the COVID-19. If you ask me about compliance, I think we haven't really done well. We haven't done much. Go around, you see a lot of people who actually do not even believe in it. Even you think those people that are educated, they will tell you there is nothing like that. And if you go to some of our markets, you see a lot of people walking without face masks and all of those things. So compliance, if you ask me as regarding compliance, I don't think we've done much. And we really can't blame them because even enforcement itself has not really been top-notch. If we want people to comply with any guidelines, then you must be able to enforce, particularly because change is not easy to come back. A lot of people are not used to it. And if you're using a face mask, for example, hand washing, it's really not, it's not a culture. And behavioral change takes a lot of time, and we can actually achieve with adequate enforcement, which I think we haven't seen. Right. So overall, I think we have just done fairly. We've not really done well, too much well. Done fairly.
We'd like to appreciate your time on the program, public health physician, Dr. Samuel Okerinde. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Tanzania's President John Magufuli has declared the country coronavirus-free. Mr. Magufuli told worshippers in a church at the capital, Dodoma, that the corona disease has been eliminated thanks to God. The World Health Organization has expressed concern over the government's strategy on COVID-19. On the 29th of April, the last day official data was released, there were 509 cases with 21 deaths in Tanzania. However, Mr. Magufuli said last week that only 4 patients were receiving treatment in the largest city, Dar es Salaam. Last month, Tanzania's government dismissed a U.S. embassy warning that hospitals in Dar es Salaam were overwhelmed and that the chances of contracting the virus was extremely high. He has repeatedly said the health crisis has been exaggerated, urging people to attend services in churches and mosques, saying that prayers can vanquish the virus. And according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, there is no cure yet for COVID-19, but supportive management of cases involve the management of symptoms, pre-existing conditions, supplemental oxygen therapy, a host of others. Find the latest guide on their website as the center continues to work closely with states, setting up treatment centers, training health workers to manage COVID-19 patients to recovery. It's also saying you need to wear a mask on your face, not on your chin. It has no value under your chin. You can find the latest national strategy to scale up testing and other public health advisories on their website. The World Health Organization has the latest updates on the global response to the COVID-19 strategy. Their website guides the public health response at both national and subnational levels. You can find practical guidance for strategic action tailored to local context. And channelstv.com is our website. It has more updates. You can find the latest on the pandemic in Nigeria, across the world, plus other stories, all at your fingertips. channelstv.com. Well, that's it on the COVID-19 updates. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Stay healthy, stay safe.